Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome to Disney Planning Insights. Through creative content and live shows, we explain the hidden details of the Disney experience so that our clients can execute memorable adventures. Together with Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel, we have helped hundreds of clients plan, book, and prepare for magical Disney vacations. Let our experience help you avoid common planning mistakes and maximize the enjoyment on your next Disney trip. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matt with the DPI podcast. Now that I've got everything else figured out, you can hear me and everything's good. First off, big thank you. Last week we hit 1,000 subscribers over on YouTube. For you that are in the podcasting industry, you understand how big of a milestone that is. That means that we have hit half of the requirements for monetization on YouTube. Well, the cool thing is we already had the other half done. You guys watch our content consistently to the point where the 4,000 watch hours you need each year, we're doing in a month right now. So fantastic. Very much appreciative with all of our viewers, all of our subscribers, and what you guys do for the channel. With that being said, we did have a lot of subscribers make themselves public over the last week. So definitely want to replay some of that activity. So Isaac Gadsden, thank you for the subscription about 6 days ago. Stephanie Knorr, thank you for the subscription 4 days ago. Tim Johnson, thank you for the subscription yesterday. Sabricia Douglas, thank you for the subscription yesterday. Come on. There we go, Sabricia. And then last but not least, 8 minutes ago now, Josh Muke. So Josh, if you're still on here, wave. Do something in chat. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button today and checking out the show. Again, thank you guys all very much for the subscriptions. 1,018 subscribers now. It's crazy. 5.5 years. It took us 5.5 years to get here. So when you're starting your channel and you're figuring out what you want to do with YouTube, definitely understand that it's a little bit of a long game. But stay with it, keep doing content, do stuff that you like, something that you enjoy. It's not a huge, burden to do it. I enjoy talking Disney. That's why I do it. And just keep putting in the work. We kept going to the parks. We kept getting videos. We kept talking about the parks, doing the travel stuff. We get a lot of different people that watch for a lot of different reasons now, whether it's for this show, and then, once we get into the summer, the show with Peter and doing top threes and the D3R3s and all that kind of stuff. We have a lot of fun doing this, and we're glad that you guys are along for the ride with us. No, it's super exciting, and I can't wait to see where we go over the next 5 years, and see how far we can continue to take this. I don't see us ever stopping talking about it because there's always going to be things going on. We put together pieces really well. We've been able to piece together a lot of things that are happening at the parks before they're actually announced, and we'll put them out as rumors and verified rumors and all that kind of stuff. But we're working on a big one right now. I don't want to give away too much on it, but here in the next few weeks, I think it's going to be something that could be D23 worthy this year. That we're working on some verification and that kind of stuff. But there's some pieces in place that make a lot of sense. So we're just kind of trying to track down if there's anything beyond what we're seeing. So that's all we're going to say there. All right. So news tonight, like I said, lots of news. It's been a relatively, I would say, medium news week. It's not been, crazy on the news side, but it has been consistent on the news side, which has been really nice. You know, I think Disney's going to stay relatively quiet. I think what they announced today might be their big splash, but they might throw one more thing out before Epic Universe opens. And then from there, I think for the next couple of weeks, they're just going to kind of sit back and see what Epic Universe does. Let them have the news feed and kind of go from there. You know, you've got Lilo and Stitch, the live action opening this week. You've got some milestones at some certain parks. You know, Disneyland opened up its 70th last week. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. So just a lot of things going on. Let me get back to that. So we talked about all of that. Did we talk about that? May 13th. So we probably didn't talk a whole lot about this. So we'll start here. So we talked a little bit about the Abu Dhabi park, and we'll continue to talk about the Abu Dhabi park. We got a little bit about news. I'll go ahead and throw the news out there with that as well in this. So Jim Scholl, who used to be an Imagineer, put a post out about having a Main Street inspired by the streets of Agrabah at this Abu Dhabi park, which makes a lot of sense. So basically, with this park in Abu Dhabi, which is in the United Arab Emirates in the Middle East, very, very hot desert climate, hot, dry, and then wild temperature swings from day to night. There's talk about this whole park being enclosed, or this whole park, or a majority of this park being enclosed. So the streets of Agrabah would make a lot of sense because you can kind of layer it to where a ceiling wouldn't feel superimposing on a park like this. Now, how much will they actually enclose? I don't know. I mean, you figure enclosing a park, it's got to be ungodly expensive. But I think that's something that they're really kind of weighing for this park. Now, another thing that was announced, and let me see if I can find it, because I'm pretty sure that I saved the post on it, but I want to make sure. Yeah, so the Imagineer behind Disney Abu Dhabi is Zach Ridley. So Zach Ridley is gay, a gay man, and it's a really interesting choice on Disney's side and on Miral. Miral is the company that's kind of funding this project in Abu Dhabi for the lead on this project, because of that region of the world's non-acceptance of non-straight people, of non-men, of a lot of things that in American culture we've accepted. They aren't as accepting over there. Now, granted, this area, this Las Marinas area where they are building the park, is a very touristy area, so it's not going to be very hardline religious, but I could see there being some issues with this type of pick over there. You know, again, here in the States, most people, no problem. Over there, most people, problem. And it's just a different part of the world. I mean, it's just like going to Paris. It's just like going to Tokyo and Shanghai and Hong Kong. There's just different customs and traditions and religions and that kind of stuff that you kind of have to understand when you travel to different parts of the world. This is a very either bold move or a very tone-deaf move when it comes to Disney and the Abu Dhabi park. So that's all I'm going to spend on Abu Dhabi this week. Let's go over to Disneyland Shanghai, and they have broken ground on the Spider-Man themed area for Shanghai Disneyland. Now, this is something that was brought up at D23 last year. It is going to house one of, if not the best, roller coasters on any Disney property when it opens here, probably in the next 3 years. So I would imagine by 2028 that you're going to see the best roller coaster on any Disney property at Shanghai Disneyland. And hopefully we're in the works at Walt Disney World of taking that title back once whatever's going to go into the Villains Land goes into the Villains Land. So there's that. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, Disneyland 70th. That's kind of a big deal. Disneyland 70th opened last weekend. Officially, it opened on Friday. Friday was a significant day because that was the day that kind of the big push to finish Disneyland started. You know, I was wondering kind of why May? Why didn't you just wait till July and just run it 18 months after that? Well, what they did is they started it when the huge push to finish the construction at Disneyland really started. That last 2 month push. And it was significant for Disneyland. So they started things on Friday. A lot of the things got started earlier in the week. You know, we watched World of Color Happiness earlier in the week. We know that Paint the Night opened earlier in the week. Wondrous Journeys opened earlier in the week. So a lot of things opened up a little earlier. But one of the cool things that got announced on the 16th, on Friday, was Phineas and Ferb were doing a meet and greet. So if you understand kind of California Adventure, and around the corner from the Avengers campus, there's this kind of like street set almost. It looks almost like a Sesame Street set is what it looks like. Well, Phineas and Ferb are going to meet there. Moon Girl was meeting there previously, and then they announced that Perry the Platypus was going to be meeting there as well. So Phineas, Ferb, and Perry the Platypus are meeting over at Disney's California Adventure. And they didn't really put a timeline on it, but that's pretty cool as well. Now, a couple things that we haven't seen yet are the Walt animatronic show, which I thought that was going to be something that would open with the actual opening of the 70th anniversary, but it didn't. It looks like it's going to be later on in the summer, and I would imagine that they're really pushing for that like July 16th, July 17th date to line up with the opening of the original park. Also, we got, another new kind of show. This is a projection show on Small World. Now, there's Small World out in Disneyland. In a much better area to house something like this, because you have a lot of paths that kind of come into that back corner, and it's relatively open. And that's going to be called Tapestry of Happiness. It debuted on the 15th. So projection show on Small World, separate from Wondrous Journeys. So lots of cool things. Also, the Together Forever parade at DCA came back, so lots of stuff going on there. Speaking of parades, we've got Disney Starlight coming to Walt Disney World at some point this summer. Well, on Friday, it looked like we had a delivery of parade floats, and one of the parade floats looks like half of Rapunzel and Flynn Rider's boat in the lantern scene. So little hint at maybe something like that being part of Disney's Starlight parade, which we're hoping is going to happen here in a couple weeks. I doubt it, but yeah, we'll see. pricing got released for all of the dates at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. We were pretty consistent on what we thought was going to happen with those prices, with the two highest price days being October 30th and October 31st. Makes a lot of sense. They're your two Halloween dates. So those are your $229 nights. All of your other nights range from $179 to that $219 price point. And of course, your weekend dates and your dates in October are your kind of peak pricing dates. So be sure to check out the calendar if you're going down there and you're thinking of doing one of these parties. They're honestly almost getting to the point where they're pricing themselves out of being worthwhile to a family. I could see Shan and I doing a party like this now. Because if we do it, early in the season, during a weeknight, it's $370. For us to do it like on a weekend in October, like if we lined it up with like the kids' spring break and did 4 tickets, or not spring break, but fall break, and did 4 tickets to one of these parties, we're looking at close to $800 to do something like this now, which is crazy. I mean, that's really hard to justify for the time and the additional benefit of being at this party. You're not getting a full park experience. You're barely getting a bunch of overlays anymore. You have the blackout Space Mountain. You get lights on the teacups. But past that, there isn't a whole lot more. You get Halloween jokes at Laugh Floor. I mean, it's just, it's not worth it to at least me anymore until they start saying, okay, you're going to have something completely different. Give us a new stage show, give us a new fireworks show, give us new things, give us a new parade. The parade has been relatively the same for 15 years now. Until you start seeing new, bigger, better, why are people paying bigger prices? And that's just kind of where I'm at on that one. Again, there are people that are going to go. There's always going to be people that are going to go. That's why they continue to raise the prices, because they can. People are going to continue to pay it. But without anything significantly better, I don't know what the point is. So, Stitch. So Disneyland released a new video of Stitch causing chaos during Disneyland's 70th. Cute video. This whole marketing campaign that they've put together for this live action Stitch has been fantastic. It just has. If they would have done this for Snow White, if they would have done this for Turning Red, if they would have done this for, what's another flop that's been recent? I don't know. It seemed like they put all their eggs in this basket, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, your people that were invited to the world premiere gave it good reviews. It was the people you invited to the world premiere. I would hope to God they gave it good reviews, because if you have a crowd that walks out of a world premiere and gives it bad reviews, nobody's going to go see it. So, hopefully they got something cool. We're going to do something cool with it. We're actually going to see it in Disney Springs, which is going to be pretty awesome. Hopefully it's still running when we get out there. I want to find a little bit more information because I've got this, but I don't have a ton of information. This was just announced here in the last hour. Mickey and Friends teaming up with Formula One in global collaboration starting in 2026. So, partnership will include themed experiences, original content, and branded merchandise available worldwide. So, this is an interesting announcement off the heels of Abu Dhabi, because the Formula One theme park is going to be on in the same area that they're building this Disneyland park. Collaboration offer a unique opportunity to bring two powerhouse entertainment properties together, create products that fans will love. Exciting collaboration will fold across the global stage with unforgettable content and experiences tailored for Disney and F1 fans alike. I'll tell you what, right now, I'm going to need another job, because this is 100% up my wife's alley, up my daughter's alley. I mean, hell, it's up my alley. So if they put out anything that's worthwhile, I'm going to be throwing money at it. So, yeah, it's Disney Explorer. Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of information right now coming out, but no, that's super cool. Disney and F1 together, super cool. Disney did a collaboration with IndyCar. Braden was probably 2 or 3, so probably 7-8 years ago. They did it with Ryan Hunter Race Car. Marco Andretti was part of Mickey and the Roadster Racers for a little while. I think there were a few IndyCar drivers that were actually part of Roadster Racers for a while. So, yeah, Dave, Disney's 70th anniversary. Have you been out there yet? I was really, really hoping that we would be able to get out there this summer. What we're hoping for is they do an 18-month, and we may be able to make it out for spring break next year. But yeah, thanks for joining us, Dave. Glad to have you here. Let us know if you have any questions about anything that we're talking about. But we were talking about the Disney IndyCar collaboration that happened a while back, and it was a really cool collaboration. They did some activations throughout the season. They had an activation at the Indy 500. They actually brought out Mickey and Minnie in their racer outfits. I don't know if I've got that. I've got a canvas with us and the car and the IndyCar Mickey and Minnie. You're in Toronto. No chance. Hopefully you're not a Leafs fan. That was brutal last night. But yeah, so they do well with these cross sports activations is kind of what I'm getting at here. And what it's going to offer is a chance to hit some of these markets like Abu Dhabi, like Saudi Arabia, because they've got the Jeddah track, they've got the Las Marinas track, and really put in some effort into saturating the brand in the market. So, off of the heels of the Abu Dhabi announcement, the park announcement, this makes a whole hell of a lot of sense for the Leafs suck. That's kind of the feeling that I got from the crowd last night. Yeah, that was a brutal game to watch. Yeah, so that's a neat announcement. Conan O'Brien will voice the role of Smarty Pants in Toy Story 5. Conan O'Brien of comedy and late night fame here in the States is going to be kind of cool. Oh, we got a video from here. Let's see. Well, that's pretty stinking cool. Yeah, Disney Abu Dhabi is going to be interesting. It's a very, very interesting idea, especially with kind of what the company tries to promote from within in alternative lifestyle and that kind of stuff. Going into a cultural climate like the Middle East is going to be very, very interesting. Veteran Disney executive Justin Connolly surprisingly leaves the company. So this ESPN guy leaving the company. Have you met Pete McDivitt? No, I haven't met Pete McDivitt. The I'll have to check out that tag you put up there. I have not met Pete McDivitt. No, I'm in the Indianapolis area, so I'm not like a Florida resident or anything like that. So definitely a few times a year at the park, if we can get down there, but definitely not a local by any means in the Florida area. Definitely want to save that. That's pretty cool. Surfing Stitch, refillable tumbler. There's going to be a Stitch and Scrump sipper this week at Disneyland. So if you like the sippers and the popcorn containers, you've got another one coming. I think that's about it. Let me find something real quick here. See if you've put out anything super crazy. Zootopia, new trailer tomorrow at noon Pacific. Or no, noon Eastern. Wow, they did something in Eastern time. That's nice. Have you met any other vloggers? Tom does Disney, Pin Trader. Yes. So I've met Super Enthused. Jackie is awesome. I've run into a few other guys. I don't go down there to actually look for the vloggers, honestly. You know, I talk to more like behind the scenes Disney people. Like I've had conversations with like some of the union heads for workers at Disney Springs and stuff like that. I take a very different approach to this type of thing. I'm not looking for a handout. I'm not looking for anything from Disney by doing this. Really, I do it just to have fun and inform people. And we do travel on the side, but it's very much for people that just don't trust themselves in planning a trip. You know, we want to give people the tools to be able to plan their own trips, do their own thing, and really enjoy their vacation. So, you know, giving them the news, letting them know what's going to be closed at parks, that kind of stuff. You know, we started this all with like You're Going the Disney series, and really broke down piece by piece each part of a Disney vacation and how you had to plan for it. And then from there, we've kind of built out a couple of different things. I handle a lot of ride and show and parade videography when we're at the parks. We do the live show and a bunch of stuff like that. So, we've got 500 and something videos up now. 446. I just deleted a bunch of old ones. So yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff up. So, but we do it in more of an informative fashion, and not like, oh, this was our favorite, this and this and this, and not necessarily as opinionated as some of the other vloggers would be, because a lot of them are butt sniffers and people that just blow smoke. We're not like that. If I think something sucks at Disney, I'm just going to come out and say, this really sucks. And this is why it sucks. And this is probably something that they could have looked at. We really try and look at things through a unique lens when it comes to Disney, because there's so many people that are just like, everything's, butterflies and roses at Disney. And we know that to be not true sometimes. So yeah, that's kind of where we go from. But no, glad that you're here. Love the interaction in chat. So no, very much appreciate you stopping by tonight. Normally the show's a little earlier, so if you caught us because we were a little bit later, let me know, because that might change kind of how I do the show. I think in the summer we're going to try and do it maybe a little bit later, but we'll see. Yeah, there's really not a lot else. With the 70th opening, they've really kind of muted everything else. The building signage is going up at Little Mermaid, and the Villains Theater, the old Lightning McQueen Racing Academy Theater. Yeah, that's about it around the Disney parks. I think they're really just kind of let things mellow into Lilo and Stitch opening. I mean, we're 3 days away from that, so that's going to be, I think that's going to be huge. I think you're going to be looking at a, $250 to $300 million weekend for that, opening this weekend. So, it's a long weekend. They're going to get the Wednesday, Thursday boost out of it, because they're going to have the theaters, they're going to have the midnight showings Thursday morning to really start capturing that crowd. I think it's going to be a huge weekend for Lilo and Stitch, and it's something that Disney needs. Hopefully it's a good enough movie. I mean, the original's so good, you just don't change it a whole lot. Make sure that Stitch looks good, make sure that Stitch sounds good, and you're going to keep the Stitch fans. That's all you need to do. They could care less about everything else as long as Stitch is good. So, but past that, what are we doing here? Let's Stitch Ride. Where? Disneyland or Disney World? Okay, Lilo and Stitch Ride. I don't know that you're ever going to see a Lilo and Stitch ride. There's really nothing. I mean, unless they did like a surf simulator or something that would have that kind of motion, I don't think you see a ride. So Disneyland Paris has a Stitch show that is very similar to Turtle Talk with Crush here in the domestic parks, and that is a really fun show. So in France they have it in French and in English. So make sure that you're going to the right one, but it is a fantastic show. They used to have the Alien Encounter Lilo and Stitch thing at Magic Kingdom. I don't know that you have that area. Now you're gonna have tropical equatorial Americas in Animal Kingdom. That's an interesting fit there for something like that. But yeah, a Lilo and Stitch ride. I don't know that you see one ride per se in the American parks. We'll see you later, Dave. Thanks for stopping by. I'm not a coffee person, but my wife is a parks blend person. So yeah, we don't need coffee tonight. I think sleeping is more in our future than anything. But no, definitely thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the chat. No, I love talking to people. So anybody else that ever jumps on, definitely jump in the chat. Direct conversations, asking questions, that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to do. Tell me I suck. I don't care. I'll say it right back to your face. I'm the one on camera. But yeah, no. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it. If you had fun tonight, hit that like, subscribe button. And I really just don't have a ton else left. So, thank you guys all for joining tonight. We'll see what happened next week. We have an interesting idea for next week. We'll see if it works out. If we're able to do it, we might do it. It is a very, very we've got to test it heavily first, and then we're gonna try. And then the following week, we should be definitely back in 2 weeks. So if you don't see us next week, have a great Memorial Day here in the States. Be safe. Think about our men and women that have paid the ultimate price to keep us free and safe. And then we'll see you the following Monday. But until then, everybody have a good week. Bye now. Hey, we didn't have any guests, but we had just as good as one. We had Dave from Toronto in the chat today, and he asked a ton of good stuff, and we had some fun with it. So check it out. If you're looking for us on social media, you can find us in a lot of different places. The easiest is going to be over on Facebook at DPI Podcast, for the show page at PATM Disney Travel for the travel side. If you're wanting to get into a deeper conversation, go over to Twitter at Disney Insights is where I like to just spout out about things and have some fun. You can also find us on Instagram and as always, thank you guys for liking, subscribing, sharing